Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope everybody's staying safe out there and practicing their social distancing. On my last video, I did a door lock actuator replacement on this same Jeep 2000 Grand Cherokee. But today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I transformed the front of the Jeep from looking like this to looking like this. And I only used a rattle can spray, the trim and bumper spray paint for it, so I'm gonna be showing you guys how I did that too. So to get this video kick started, I began by removing the front grille from the car, and I had to spray some penetrating oil, some PV blaster on the bolts. There were 4 bolts holding them into place, and that's solely because the owner told me that this grille hasn't been removed. I didn't want anything to break, while I was taking it off, especially with the bolts and the nuts. So the penetrating oil was my best bet. So to get those nuts and those bolts off, you're gonna need 2 ratchets. Personally, I use my power ratchet and a regular hand ratchet. And so you're gonna put the hand ratchet behind holding the bolt together, and then you're gonna crack the nut with the power ratchet, and then you're just gonna press on it and it's gonna take the nut out. So you're gonna do that 4 times to take the 4 nuts and bolts out. And once you've got that, you're just gonna kind of balance the grill, so you can take it off by taking 1 bolt out and then leaving the other one in, which is what I did. I took the 2 out, I left 1 in so it has something to balance on, and I took it out. And now that I finally have the front grill off of the car, this is what the front bumper and the front of the car in general looks like. And I know I haven't done it in this video, but I will post it the next video. I will show you guys how I restore these headlights, and I'm gonna show you the transformation, the process to take these headlights from looking like this to crystal clear again. So you guys got to stay tuned for that. So once you popped out your headlight, this is what the back is gonna look like. There's gonna be 2 connectors up top right here, and there's gonna be 3 more connectors down below. So you're gonna wanna pop the clips of this, just lift it up gently because it's kind of old. You want to lift it up gently and slide the connector out. You're gonna do that twice, and for the 3 connectors on the bottom, they're different. You're gonna have to turn them and then lift them out of the socket. So we're gonna start by taking this bulb out, and we're gonna just turn it like I said, and it should slide out. The other 2 were giving a bit of problems, so I had to put the phone down and stop recording, and I had to take it out using my 2 hands. But it's the same process. You just turn them and they should slide out. So now that all the connectors are removed, you can see a better picture of what the back of the headlight looks like. There's the 2 connectors up top. That's where the blue connectors go into, and then the lights are on the bottom connectors. So there's 2 up top and 3 below. Seeing as we've done the other side, we're gonna go ahead and take this headlight off as well. We're gonna put it down, and we're gonna secure the bulbs, put them in a nice Ziploc bag, and keep them somewhere safe so that we don't crush them or we don't lose them. Remember, we're gonna take that long bolt that goes straight through the top off with a nice 7mm socket. We're gonna take that out, and once we take it out, we're gonna go ahead and tug on the clips. Try not to break them. Don't tug too hard, just tug hard enough that we can take them off with. I'm gonna tug on them, go from the back. I'm gonna push out front, and the headlight should pop out. These right there are the clips that those metal screws go into when you push them in. So those are the clips that hold the headlight in, apart from the bolt itself. So our next step is gonna be to remove the front bumper, and what we're gonna do to do that, we're gonna have to remove these 3 clips with our clip remover. They hold the bumper into the fender liner. Along with this bolt, we're gonna remove that with a 10mm socket. This other clip that sits in the frame, the bumper just slides into it, so we just slide the bumper out of it to take it off, and we just gently push this down, and that's one side of the bumper. It's exactly identical on the other side. There's a bolt to the top. A 10mm socket should be fine to take that out. There's 3 more clips which we're gonna remove with our clip removers, and then this clip in the frame itself, the bumper just slides into it, so you're just gonna slide it off and just push that down. There's 3 more clips on the bottom of the car, so you're gonna use your clip remover again, and you're gonna go ahead and remove those 3 clips. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna remove these clips using our clip removers. You know, gently prying them off, because like I said, these clips have been on for a long time, so some of these clips are gonna break, and I do have replacement clips to put on. Even if they don't break, I'm just gonna change them out anyway, just because they've been on for I don't know how long. But it's always good to change the clips, especially on these, you know, older cars when you take them off. So I'm gonna change the clips. So for this side, it's the exact same process. We're gonna go ahead and remove the 3 clips first with our clip removers, followed by removing the bolt that screws the bumper into the frame of the car itself using our 10mm socket and ratchet, and that should free it up. And right here, we're gonna remove these 7 screws that hold the grill itself along with the bumper into the frame of the car. These also help to hold the bumper in place, so we're gonna go ahead and remove these screws. And after we remove these, all we have to do is remove those 3 clips on the bottom, and the bumper should come out. And finally, once we've removed those screws from the grill, we're gonna go ahead and remove these 3 clips from the bottom of the bumper. And once we've removed these 3 clips, our bumper should, you know, come out pretty easily. So next, you're gonna slide the front bumper forward, and once we do that, it's gonna come out. And finally, we just have to disconnect those 2 connectors which connect to the fog lights using the same method we did with the headlights. We're just gonna gently raise the clips up and slide them out of the sockets. We're gonna do that for both sides, and then once we've done that, our bumper is free. And it's gonna be disconnected from the car and ready to be worked on. And now that we have our bumper on the ground, I've highlighted these 4 clips that we need to remove in order to take the front grille out, the chrome grille, in order to fully, you know, get the bumper out and be able to paint it fully without having the grille in our way. So for this removal, you're gonna want to use your wire and your clip removers at the same time, you know, to kind of take it off. You want to be very careful though, because it's a small metal piece. It's pretty thin, so it can break easily. So you want to take your time to remove it. So right here, once the clips are removed, that grill should just slide out front, and you're just gonna take that and you're gonna set it aside somewhere where you don't, you know, it's not in your way. So our final step before we get our bumper ready for paint preparation is gonna be to remove these 2 fog lights from the bottom of the bumper. And so we're gonna do that with a 10mm socket and a ratchet. So we're just gonna go ahead and loosen the bolts, and our lights should slide out freely. And then we're gonna go ahead and set those aside, you know, somewhere safe where we don't step on them and they aren't in our way. So now that all the accessories are off the bumper, this is exactly what it looks like. Pretty scratched up, you know, worn out. You could tell the bumper has some age on it, but that's not a big issue because we're gonna go ahead and paint it today. So we're gonna take care of all these minor imperfections and get this bumper back to, you know, top quality. So seeing that this bumper was in pretty decent shape, scratch and dent wise, we went ahead and we scuffed this bumper with a red 3M Scotch-Brite scuffing pad, and we made sure to get every part of this bumper as even as possible and as smooth as possible. So now that we have our bumpers scuffed up and everything, we try to make everything as uniform as possible. This is our final product of preparation before we put any paint onto this. 100% difference. So next up is choosing our paint. So because this bumper is that of a trim material, it's different from a regular bumper, we're going to use a trim and bumper paint right here. With that being said, you can find this trim and bumper paint at Advanced Auto Parts, AutoZone, any automotive store that sells, paint, you can find this at. So next we're going to start by painting. So you're going to want to keep a nice steady fluid motion with your hands, try to avoid, staying over one part of the bumper for too long to avoid runs. And runs is when you're spraying, with the can and you stay over one spot for too long and you put a little too much paint in that one spot and it starts to drip, it starts to run, and it doesn't look good because, the rest of the bumper usually comes out uniform, and then there's that one spot where, a run in a bumper. So to avoid that, you're gonna want to put, go in light coats. So initially the bumper is not going to look perfect with the first pass, so you're going to want to put like between 3 and 4 coats of paint on it with 10-minute intervals between them. So you put the first coat of paint, you give it 10 minutes, you let it dry, you put the second coat, 10 minutes, let it dry, third coat, 10 minutes, and if you see necessary for a fourth coat, you could put a 4 coat of paint on it, and but you want to make it even. It's not going to come out perfect in the first coat, so that's perfectly fine. Get past it, go to the second coat. By the third coat, you're going to be, bumper's going to be looking perfect. And if you do want to put a 4 coat, you can go ahead and put a 4 coat. The bumper's going to be looking pretty much done by then. So to avoid runs, you're just going to want to, apply the paint very lightly and try not to stay over one part of the bumper for too long. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply my second coat and then apply my third coat using the same, procedures and same techniques as I explained in the first. And, when applying the first coat, you want to pass everything evenly, nice fluid motion, and distribute everything pretty evenly. And guys, I before I forget, safety. You want to have gloves on, you want to wear a respirator, and you want to wear eye protection too. You always want to have these on when painting. These fumes are highly toxic and you do not want them in your body. So I can't express how important those are when painting. And right here, this is what our freshly painted bumper looks like after 3 coats. So guys, I left the bumper drying for about 2 hours while I ran to the store and I got some more products, and I was, doing the headlight restoration on it. And the video to that will be my next post. So I'm gonna post, how I restore the headlights for you guys. So to get this part kick-started, I put a like a cloth material underneath this white paper that I painted on top of, so I don't scratch the bumper up on the bare floor. And then I started by putting the accessories back on the bumper itself. So I'm gonna start with this chrome grille. Remember, we took off the four metal clips, so we're gonna start by putting those 4 metal clips back on. We just slide them in and make sure they lock tightly all the way down. They're holding, and once they hold, you just do that 3 more times for the 4 corners and we're gonna be good. After our chrome grille, we're gonna start by putting the lights back on, the fog lights back on. And guys, it's really important that you do have a cloth. It's more like a like a thicker wool material like underneath this white tarp, because it really does help. It prevents you from scratching the bumper after you painted it, because even though it's on top, it sits on top of this white tarp. Once you slide the bumper, it will scratch, so you got to be careful. So we're gonna go ahead and work in reverse. We're gonna put the lights back on, fasten the bolt with our 10mm socket. We're gonna do that on the 2 sides, and once we've done that, then we move to our next step. Next step, now that we have all our bumper accessories back on the bumper, is to put the bumper back onto the frame of the car. So we're gonna take our time and line everything up and try to slide the bumper back in. The same way we took it out, we're trying to slide it back in. There's those two clips that sit in the frame of the front of the car. We're gonna slide them both back in, one side at a time. And once they're slid in, then we're gonna go ahead and start fastening, putting the clips back in, putting the screws back together, and really securing the bumper in the front of the car now. Our next step now would be to put the fog lights back together, just connect the connectors. Now I didn't do when the bumper was on the floor, but it's not a big deal. You just need to stick your hand in the fender liner, and you can do it from the side while the bumper is on. All you really need to do is stick your hand in and just reconnect the connector. There you go. And once we have that done, we're gonna go ahead and put that bolt back up top on our bumper. We're gonna go ahead and fasten that, and then we're gonna fasten our clips back to the fender liner. Again, right here, you want to make sure the fender liner is on the inside of the bumper. That way when we put the clips in, everything holds in snug and the fender liner is in place. Now we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. We're gonna reconnect the fog light. So we're gonna slide the socket back into the hole until we hear that click. And once we hear that click, we know that it's gone into place. Then we're gonna go ahead and fasten the top of the bumper with that 10mm bolt. And then we're gonna make sure the fender liner is behind the bumper before we put the clips on. So our final steps include reconnecting the headlight, and so by doing this we're gonna have to make sure all the connections on the back of the headlight, they're connected, and you do so by hearing that click when you put them into the sockets. As for the lights, you want to make sure to turn them so that they lock into place, and then we're gonna place that long bolt, that 7mm bolt, all the way through the top of the headlight, and we're gonna fasten it. So now that we have our headlights back into place and our hood is closed, this is what the front of the car looks like, and it's already a huge difference. Everything just looks a lot more cleaner now. The headlights are cleaned up, and this front bumper is in way better condition than it was before. So our final step now would be to put our front grill back together. And now in doing this, after I put the front grill back on, the client then decided that she wanted it to be painted as well, which wasn't a big deal for me because, you know, I painted it. The only thing is I don't have footage on how I painted it. I do have a photo though I can show you guys of the primer. So after I took it back off, I scuffed it down again. There weren't any chips, any dents, any imperfections. There was one spot with rust, and I talked to her about it and she was fine with me painting over it. So I just scuffed it down. I used some filling primer and I primed the whole grill, and then after that I had my different steps of my different coats of paint I put over it. So here we go, guys. This is the only picture I have of it during the process. This is with just the first coat of primer, and I put 2 coats of primer on it, and then I put 3 coats of paint on it to really make it look good. And right here I got some transformation images for you guys. This just looks so much different now. The headlights are different, This was with the grill not painted, and then right here I have everything painted, the bumper and the grill. Headlights restored. Just a total transformation.